What's up, everybody? My name is Slim. I'm going to be going over Chapter 1043 of One Piece, or a theory for Chapter 1043 of One Piece. So if you have not read up to Chapter 1043, go ahead, click off this video. Everybody else, I hope you really enjoy this video. I'm going to actually be going over why I think Luffy didn't die in Chapter 1043. Because I know a lot of people have been theorizing that Luffy did die, and they're pretty convinced that he died. I think they're just overlooking a couple things, and I want to kind of show you why I think Luffy did not die and what actually happened to Luffy. So let's go ahead and get started into this video right about now. So my 3 reasons for why Luffy didn't die are as followed. 1, I think Luffy, his heartbeat and Joy Boy's heartbeat are nearly identical now. And I don't believe in the reincarnation, so let's get out the way, but I think their heartbeats are identical now. I think the devil fruit ties into the sounds of liberation, the sound of liberation. And then my second point is that Luffy went into shock, and he went into shock, so he went into such a bad shock that his heartbeat was almost nearly untraceable to everybody else that could feel it in the first place. So that's my point number 2. And point number 3 is if Luffy died, he would have died without a smile on his face, which goes against the Will of D, which would have been contradictory to the point of the Will of D and how they live and then once they die. First off, I just want to go over my theory of what I think happened to Luffy first, and then I'll go over why I think he didn't die. So one thing that I am pretty convinced happened, I think that Luffy, there's been times when Luffy has been knocked out unconscious against Kaido, which the first fight against Kaido, he was knocked out unconscious, and he was sitting out Conqueror's Haki just because his will was still strong enough that he could fight back a little bit, but he wasn't really there mentally, and physically wasn't there. His body had so much control, or had so much willpower, that it was sending out Conqueror's Haki, and that's why he was able to do it. It was just unconscious effort. And so the second time on the rooftop when he fell down, his body actually gave up, but his mind was still there and still fighting back. So that's why he was able to communicate with Momonosuke as well as the Heart Pirates, because his mind was still mentally there, but his body was physically knocked out, and was not strong enough to fight back until he got, he recuperated and got more rest and food in his body. And so the last time he fought Kaido, when he took the big hit in Chapter 1043, Luffy was physically and mentally knocked out, unconscious. And so I don't really know the full definition of what a knockout and all that stuff means, because I'm not a boxer, or not really a doctor and this kind of things. But I know for a TKO, like for example, if they deem you as not like responsive enough to fight, then you get a TKO, and then if you fall down and you can't get back up in the 10 seconds, you're also knocked out. Or if you just don't respond in the 10 seconds, you're knocked out. So there's parts where you're physically, if you're physically not there and your body just you're not able to get back up, then that would just be a physical knockout where, your body's too weak to fight. And then the TKO, your mind's too weak or not responsive enough to fight. So in the fight against Kaido, the last fight, his body was clearly weak because he used Gear 4th, and he was not going to recover in the 10 minutes that he had, because we already knew Luffy was at his limit. So that was most likely going to be his last attack, and afterwards Luffy would have deflated and he would have been pretty much done for. So we know that Luffy was on his last leg for fighting, for his physical aspects, and then for mentally, he didn't respond after the fight. After he got knocked out, he was not responsive, and that's when his will just kind of vanished at that point. And so that led a lot of people to think that Luffy actually died. And then we got the heartbeat afterwards, and Zunisha was like, Joy Boy has returned. But what I think actually happened after Luffy's eyes went totally black, and then his heartbeat, you hear his heartbeat again, what I think happened was Luffy was actually transforming. So from the last part, he was knocked unconscious, and the amount of damage, we've seen before that the reason awakening might have happened is because they're on the last leg of their life, and the amount of difficulty they've had in a fight sometimes allows their bodies to just get stronger naturally from a fight. And Luffy might have just had awakening from that alone, and that's why he was pushed to the limits, pushed to the uttermost stresses he could take in a fight, and so that might have caused the awakening. So I think that Luffy started transforming into his awakening. And we don't know exactly what Luffy's devil fruit is. I think I thought it was the resin fruit, but I'm not totally convinced. I'm pretty sure I could be wrong, but so I think that once he did his awakening, his full body did a transformation, including his heart, and it transformed into something different. And from that alone, people were not able to feel Luffy's heartbeat. And so from there on, people thought he was dead. And then, his heartbeat, you see his heartbeat, you see the onomatopoeias of a heartbeat going on. From there, right before his heartbeat, you see the onomatopoeias. I think Luffy's heart was actually transforming into his awakening. And whatever the power of his awakening is, I think that actually affects the sound of his heartbeat itself. And so, there's the one person in the Revolutionary Army that can pretty much, she motivates the soldiers around her to fight. And I think that his heartbeat at this time, since Zunisha is actually calling out and saying that Joy Boy has returned, that his heartbeat actually signifies Joy Boy itself, and his heartbeat might be kind of a motivator to motivate people to fight for what they believe in. So when I say think, that is my theory on the heartbeat of Luffy, that Joy Boy's heartbeat as well as Luffy's heartbeat, because of the devil fruit itself, whatever the devil fruit is tied to the sound of the heartbeat from them. And since Luffy and Joy Boy, Zunisha is calling out as they're the same people, and I do not believe the reincarnation thing. I believe that Luffy and Joy Boy at this time have the exact same similar heartbeats as each other. But Slim, what about the part where you don't see Luffy's heartbeat actually beating and it stops for a second? Well, the reason I think that happened was because Luffy was in fact in shock. And it says right here that when shock happens, blood flow is reduced to vital organs, and it can look like there's no pulse at all. So I think that's what actually happened. They weren't able to feel Luffy's pulse or feel that Luffy was actually moving or breathing or heart beating, because he went into shock from the transformation that he was going through. And so, the 2 points I'm making for this is Luffy was in shock, and he went through a awakening transformation that changed the sound of his heart to an actual drum beat, which is the sound of liberation itself. And so my last point for why I think Luffy didn't die is tied to the Will of D itself. And we know that everybody with the Will of D that we've seen so far when they died has been smiling. And even when Luffy was about to die back in Logtown, I believe. Yeah, so even when he was about to die then, he still had a smile on his face. I just don't understand why Luffy would not have a smile on his face in that moment when he was about to die. Because I mean, it goes against the whole story of One Piece itself and the Will of D. It just, to me, it'd be a contradiction is what it would be. And I don't think Oda, I know some authors do make mistakes like that, but I don't think Oda, I think he knows what he's doing. I don't think he would have made a mistake like that. So for that reason, I think that Luffy did not die. And so, yeah, those are my 3 points. Let me know what you think of them, or respond with what you think actually happened to Luffy. I appreciate any of those comments. Make sure if you like this video to leave a like, subscribe, and I'll have more videos coming soon. I'll have probably a theory video on the chapter once it fully comes out for chapter 1044. I'll have a theory on that, or just a review of the chapter, so stay tuned for that. But until next time, I'll catch you guys later.